Two teams off to hot starts in the Eastern Conference meet today in Northern Virginia. Loudoun United is hoping for a rebound after suffering its first loss of the season, while Louisville City FC looks to maintain its status among the league's unbeaten. Ted DiPietro makes his second appearance for Loudoun on loan from DC United, and they will need him to be a spark in the attack against the Louisville side led from the back by Kyle Morton. The two-time goalkeeper of the year finalist already has 4 clean sheets in 5 matches. It's time for some Sunday action in the USL Championship right here on ESPN+. Very windy, chilly day in Northern Virginia, but the fans are in attendance to take this one in, and it should be an exciting one here at Segra Field. Joined by Eric Dobransky, I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have you along on ESPN+. These two teams both began the season in positive ways. Louisville, one of the few remaining unbeaten teams. They are not in first, though, anymore. Pittsburgh Riverhounds overtook that spot yesterday. And there you see Loudoun in 6th with 2 wins in their first couple of games. They are coming off a loss, though, to that Pittsburgh team.
And you have two teams that are very similar in regards to they're in the upper half of the Eastern Conference standings, but both defensively solid. Loudoun United only conceding 2 goals this season thus far. Lou City with only 1, but both coming off games where they were held scoreless.
Now, one of the guys who's been on the score sheet for Loudoun but can't crack the starting 11 is Tyler Freeman. We'll spotlight him anyway because he will be a spark off the bench later in the match. He has been terrific when he's been out there.
Yeah, and he's going to have to play that role of the super sub today, and he's going to have an impact in today's match for Ryan Morton. The 19-year-old struck twice for Loudoun United in their 3-0 win versus Red Bulls 2. And he'll come off and bring dynamic scoring threat in his team that was held scoreless in 2 matches.
Now on the other side, Wilson Harris comes over from Sporting Kansas City, and he has done nothing but score. 6 matches in all competitions, including U.S. Open Cup. He's got 3 goals already.
And 2 former teammates, a former teammate of Tyler Freeman. He was the 2020 USL Championship Young Player of the Year. And then he just continues to be a threat there in the final third, and again, looking to help his team pick up 3 points on the road today.
Well, stay tuned here on ESPN+. This one could go any number of ways. Both teams terrific defensively. Both teams have all-world offensive talent. Should be an exciting one in Northern Virginia. It's Loudoun and Louisville coming up next on ESPN+.
This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
Spring has not quite yet sprung in Northern Virginia. Very chilly, very windy. You'll see some players with the long sleeves and the gloves on. We will see how that weather impacts this game as it goes along. Ball up in the air, who knows where it will land. A look at the starting lineups for both of these clubs, beginning with the home side led by head coach Ryan Morton.
And a couple new introductions to this lineup. Obviously in goal, John Kempen, going to look to really secure this back line. And then in midfield, Moses Neiman. He actually scored his first professional goal against this Lou City side July 29th in 2019. But then look for Nicky Downs as well to really help control the tempo of this matchup.
And then on the other side, Danny Cruz, a side that is retooled, not rebuilt. A lot of the old guard mixed with some new talent and off to a great start.
And I know when we focus defensively, you typically look at a back line, but this team as a full 11 just defends so well, leads the entire USL Championship with 4 clean sheets, with a 5th clean sheet in that US Open Cup game during the week against Chattanooga Red Wolves. So look for Kyle Morton. He made 2 huge saves for Birmingham against Prosper Kasim in the 70th and 90th minute to hold them at 0-0.
Luis Arroyo ready to get things going at Segra Field. From left to right in the white and purple, we have Louisville. From right to left in the red and white sash, we have Loudoun. And what we have is something that should turn out to be a fun one at Segra Field. 2 teams off to hot starts. Glad to be along for this one on ESPN Plus with Eric Dobransky. I'm Joe Malfa. This not the Loudoun team of last year, where a lot of teams would look at the calendar and say, you know what, that's a day where we could probably rest some guys and still pick up the result. This team is a year older for the younger players, more experienced, and they brought in some veteran guys looking for that next crack at an MLS lineup as well. More mirroring last year's Tacoma Defiance squad that was in the playoff race out west until the last day of the season.
And really, it's been an interesting start throughout the USL Championship, especially here in the Eastern Conference. Some typical teams that you've seen in the upper half of the standings. Birmingham Legion, Indy 11, they're outside that top 7 right now. And then you have Loudoun United holding that 6th spot. And again, we highlighted in the open, it really starts with defense with both of these sides. And really that defensive shape leads to how threatening they can be in the attacking phase. Talk about Brian Ownby for Lou City. He's 2nd in the East with 10 chances created.
That one sails all the way out for a goal kick. With that, we'll take a look at tonight's keys to the game, brought to you by Country Buick GMC of Leesburg. What do you got for us, Eric?
Win the restart battle for Loudoun United, really making sure that they're switched on, whether it's a quick set piece or something that's really well put together and detailed from Lou City, staying compact in the run of play, making sure that they're really closing down windows and shutting down seams. And for Lou City, manage the transition moments. When you play that expansive style and you really get numbers in the final third, and then whether you turn the ball over or it's a save by John Kempen, what do you become? What's your role defensively as the first and second defender, and then convert opportunities? Danny Cruz had mentioned going into that Birmingham Legion game that going into that matchup, they had missed the most amount of chances in the league created, and that's not a stat that you want to be leading the league in, especially when you're as dangerous as this Lou City side.
Well, that's where the silver lining comes in, though, for Danny Cruz, and talking about where he sees this team in the early stages, good or bad view of it. First of all, if you haven't lost yet, you've got to have some sort of positive spin on it. But the one thing, as you mentioned, that has made him unhappy, their inability to finish. The good side and the bad side of that stat you give. The good side is, while at least they're creating the chances and eventually they'll fall. Bad side is they're missing some. Maybe they have one here early on. Played across. Harris, yet again on the score sheet for Louisville in the 4th minute.
And what a start for this Lou City side. And this was going to be something that could possibly pose a problem for Loudoun United throughout the matchup, was the ability to kind of build through some of the spaces in their defensive half, and they turn the ball over at midfield, and such a clever ball in behind. And again, with that defensive shape, they have the numbers to attack, and then you just see this ball just calmly played across, and Wilson Harris just absolutely knows what to do with it. Picks up where he's left off.
For Wilson Harris, a third goal in league play to go with one in US Open Cup. Playing in his 7th match for Louisville with 4 goals already. How about that ball in, though, from Brian Ownby, outside of the boot, curled over the top into the path of Gonzalez to start that whole thing.
And that goes back to the 10 chances he's created thus far this season. And I go back to it, it's the numbers that, it's the press, it's the overall press from Lou City and the inability for them to allow teams to get out of pressure. Really, even you see it there where Loudoun United forced to play out of bounds. It's going to be interesting to see how Loudoun United adjusts, because they're going to have to find moments and a good balance between having to play a bit of a longer ball, a little bit more direct in moments. And I know that's not necessarily the style they want to play, but to relieve some of that pressure, it's gonna be a key moment.
Well, to earn at least 1 point in this game, Loudoun's going to have to do something that only one team has done against Louisville this year, and that's score a goal. Morton spills over the top of his defender. He has 4 clean sheets in 5 matches this season. That other match, a 1-1 draw. This team has given up 1 goal in 450 minutes of league play.
Really, you go back to how well they defend as a team and as a group. Kyle Morton leads the league with 4 clean sheets, and it's really only had to make 10 saves thus far throughout the season, and a lot of them coming in that Birmingham Legion game where Napo Matsoso got a red card in the 42nd minute. So Lou City found themselves playing a player down for a significant amount of time and coming up with 2 huge saves against Prosper Kasim.
Improving the defensive abilities was task number 1 for Danny Cruz this offseason for Louisville. Last year, the biggest thing that upset him throughout the season, their inability to close out halves, whether it was first or second, that final 10 to 15 minute window. Too often they switched off, they allowed the opposition to score. Felt they fixed that down the stretch. Final couple games of the regular season and the first couple of games of the postseason. But then again, in the Eastern Conference Final, they gave up 2 goals in those final few minutes against Tampa Bay and blow that game 1 step away from the final. That was a point of emphasis in the offseason, and so far, the bell has been answered by all the players out there with just a 1 goal allowed in 5 matches. And the difference, he said, late in halves, no longer going to a low block, maintaining that same press. Here's Cudi Pietro earning a corner, but maintaining that same press, not changing anything. Keep the opposition uncomfortable in their own half. That's been the key to success so far.
Yeah, when you have those levels defensively from the back line to the midfield to the forward line before they get to Kyle Morton, you can always find a lot of success. Now here, Loudoun United with their first corner of the match.
It'll be Gadiri with the outswinger. Comes over from Inter Miami CF. Split time in USL League One and the MLS in that organization last year. A boot to the head of Ownby. Slow to get up.
Almost looked like Brian Ownby was slipping as he to play that ball, and then
well, thankfully it didn't really look like Jacob Green connected all that much. That could have been very scary. Just glanced off the outside of the boot and he didn't really follow through. He held it up. He saw Ownby there at the last moment. So kudos to Green for holding up. That could have been very ugly. Morton gets it back into play. Gonzalez flicks it beyond Ownby. Kyle Morton happy to have a chance again as the starter for an organization. 2021 represented sort of a lost year, just 1 appearance for Houston Dynamo. 5 on loan to Memphis 901. Never really got into a rhythm. And that was coming off back-to-back years in which he was a goalkeeper of the year finalist in USL Championship 2019 and 2020. Impressive comeback for him as well. Those 2 years as a goalkeeper of the year finalist were after he tore his ACL in 2018. So comes back from a torn ACL, follows that up with back-to-back goalkeeper of the year finalist performances, and now Danny Cruz has him as the starter again after a lost 2021 where he never really caught on with Houston Dynamo.
And the confidence that having a goalkeeper such as Kyle Morton does to an entire team, and as you mentioned, conceding those later goals within second halves and within matches, so important. And there's a lot of game left, clearly, but with a win or a draw today, it would secure the best ever start through 7 games for Lou City. 2018 went 6 games without defeat.
Parker Siegfried, the backup goalie on the bench for Louisville, he went back and forth in and out of the starting lineup last year with Chris Hubbard, so nobody really ever hammered that down. Siegfried, a young player with a lot of potential, but not the experience or level of play that Morton brings to the table. That was the one thing lacking for Louisville last year. Danny Cruz never felt secure in either of those goalkeepers. They each had their own positive spurts within the season, but never that model of consistency that they're looking for and that Morton brings to the table. Josh Winder, the teenager, 16 years old, at center back. Danny Cruz didn't hold back in talking about Winder. Already called him one of the best center backs in the league at 16 years of age.
That is some praise right there. Just shows you how impressive he's been thus far. Again, Loudoun finding a bit more of a rhythm here. As I say that, the ball's played out of bounds in possession. Obviously not wanting to concede that early goal.
Harris trying to push through and get a second early goal.
Lou City trying to say that Loudoun United played it back to the keeper.
The question for Loudoun today and throughout the season will be, how do you maintain that same level of play, that same level of cohesion and chemistry when you have different pieces coming in and out of the lineup? John Kempin on loan today from DC United in goal. In the midfield, you have Nyman and Cudi Pietro, players who have been here in the past but haven't remained here consistently. Chatted with Ryan Martin about that earlier in the season, and he said, look, while we would love to have that infusion of talent, you can't take away the talent that a Nyman and a Cudi Pietro bring to the table. They don't have the reps with everybody else, so it's a weird balancing act that they have to handle throughout the year.
And that's where you hope that and this is where you count on the organizational structure of what your style of play is as a team, as an organization, so that you can use these moments where you have a home matchup against Lou City on an off week to get minutes and really help bolster your team. Again, with both these teams, with DC United and Loudoun United, really looking to play familiar, similar styles. But you're right, that cohesion, that consistency, that rhythm, you don't have that until you play games together.
It was a difficult year last year for Loudoun, down at the bottom of the table. But the positives that came out of that helped them this year. Ryan Martin was able to send 7 players from Loudoun up to DC United last year. That's a terrific recruiting tool. It's what allowed them to bring in the likes of a Rio Hope Gund, a Sammy Gadiri, a Hayden Sargis. The list goes on. These guys who are looking for that next chance in MLS, they look around the league and say, you know what? How about this team? They sent 7 players from USL to MLS last season alone. That's my best chance. So that's what allowed him to bring this group of talent in, and it's why they've had this strong start so far through 4 games. And to your point about getting some minutes, Nyman definitely needs them because he picked up a red card 5 days ago. So when DC United is back in action next week, he will not be allowed to play anyway. And to that point, he might stick around for an extra week with Loudoun United.
Yeah, and that's a great point. It's just these affiliations, they work out really for both sides. And going back to the growth of Ryan Martin's roster and the success that he's seen from a number of his players and the start that they've had to this 2022 campaign, 2-1-1, really playing well. And it'll be interesting to see how they navigate not only this match, but the upcoming 3. They're going to Oakland Roots, then they host Birmingham Legion, and then they host El Paso. And El Paso getting an emphatic 5-0 win last night.
Gonzalez stopped by Kempin.
These are going to be opportunities that Ryan Martin and his team want to address in terms of their ability to close them down tighter there in the final third. Do not want to give an opportunity right there. Square it up to frame. And what you really need to do for Loudoun is make sure that as you create attacking opportunities and scoring chances, that you don't somehow find a way to concede a second.
Quarter of an hour gone. A 1-0 lead to the visitors as Wilson Harris found the net once again in the 4th minute. All he has done is score since joining Louisville. 7th game total, factoring in US Open Cup as well, rather 5 games in USL Championship, 1 game in US Open Cup, and now a total of 4 goals. Flag up on Camarnie Smith. Over the head of Gonzalez. There's a look again at Wilson Harris. 2020 Young Player of the Year in USL Championship. Not much production in 2021 because he bounced around a bit, made 19 total appearances, 9 in MLS, 10 in USL Championship in that Sporting Kansas City organization. Again, it's so tough to find any rhythm, put up any sort of stats when you're on this bus back and forth, the first and second team. But when he has kept his feet in one spot at the same time for a length of time, he was the top scoring teenager in American Pro Soccer in 2019 when he scored 12 for SKC, and then he had 8 in 16 games in 2020 en route to that Young Player of the Year award. So now again, his feet are on steady ground, and he is showing what he can do when that's the case. 4 goals in not even 7 full matches yet. Green up the right side into Gadiri, flipped over the top, looking for Jackson Hopkins, another teenager in this lineup for Loudoun. Jackson Hopkins still on an academy contract on the way to UVA in the fall, so making the transition to the college game. Here's Ownby. Harris in the middle. Ownby cuts it that way, but it's blocked. And now out for a corner kick. Always have to be wary when Brian Ownby is on the ball. A career high of 11 assists last season. That was second in the league.
They
Going back to Wilson Harris, the 22-year-old spent time with the U.S. Youth National Team, the U16 National Team, U18, U20. And as you mentioned, really starting to find his form in the attacking phase, scoring goals. Obviously the first one today. For Loudoun, you need to stay switched on here on the set pieces.
Whipped in near post. Bone couldn't keep it alive. Nyman lost it. And that did take a deflection. Throw for Louisville down near the corner. 20 minutes into this with a 1-0 lead. Alongside Eric Dobransky, I'm Joe Malfa. Glad to have you with us on ESPN+. Upper 40s today in Leesburg, Virginia. Winds over 20 miles an hour. Any ball in the air has been an adventure. Corner flags working overtime just to stay upright today. And now we will get another corner for Louisville.
I feel so fortunate to be at a company leading and cutting edge. He's like typing it right now. I'm doing like the whole thing. You talking, Tyler? Yeah. Transportation infrastructure.
Amadou Dia. Way too much on that one. And again, the wind probably didn't help it. You see the flags whipping out that way.
Some of the toughest conditions to play matches in is high wind.
Manny Perez, well defended by Sammy Gadiri. And now a foul called against Jackson Hopkins.
And already in this first 22 minutes, you can really see waves of momentum where Lou City's able to pin Loudoun United into their own half. And it's been really tough for Loudoun United and Ryan Martin's side to find that outlet, find that safe space, find that pocket where they can play out of and face up and get those players such as DiPietro and Hopkins and Smith and Nicky Downs on the ball as well.
Gonzalez is holding the left side of his face after that challenge, but looks to be okay. Harris back for Dia. 3 players come over to Louisville this year from the Sporting Kansas City organization after SKC2 was booted from USL Championship and joined MLS Next Pro. Dia, one of them. Wilson Harris, of course, one of the others. And then Enoch Mushagalusa on the bench, the third of those 3. They also bring over some talent from Tacoma Defiance. If we see Ray Serrano at some point. It's been fun to follow along as all the other teams in the league just scavenge for spare parts once some of those MLS2 sides exited the league. Tacoma had a lot of talent. We've seen Alex Villanueva as a key starter for the reigning champions Orange County Soccer Club. Harris, of course, doing what he's doing here. Plenty throughout the league from those teams have latched on. Bone over to Ownby. Back for Perez. Danny Cruz already called one of the top right backs in the league. You can tell he has a lot of confidence in his back line, which is something he didn't have last year. He called Winder one of the best center backs in the league. He called Perez one of the best right backs in the league. And he called Morton one of the best goalkeepers in the league. This one over the top to Ownby. Takes it down. Ownby puts it wide.
And again, those are the sequences for Loudoun United where they get broken down with one or two quick passes from Lou City and they find themselves in behind. You saw it with the first goal with Brian Ownby with that clever little touch into space with the outside of his foot, and then there, really one pass over and Brian Ownby's in on goal himself. Just unable to get the connection he wanted to put it past John Kempen.
Danny Cruz not necessarily one to overstate things about his team. Usually kind of plays the self-deprecation card and tries to always focus on what can get better. So for him to actually come out and say that emphatically about his players, it does mean something. It's not just a coach trying to support his guys. It means a lot coming from him.
And really, it's two players that own the role on both sides of the ball. On the attacking side, you could see Winder's ability to break lines of pressure, really play forward passes. Sometimes as center backs, you get into this routine of just playing side to side, playing the safe space back to the goalkeeper. But his ability to play that courageous ball forward in that tight window. And then for Manny Perez, his ability to read those moments to join attacks, to create numerical advantages out wide. And those are those courageous, brave moments as well, because you're not only joining the attack, but you're leaving that space in behind, but knowing that you've got coverage in Winder and Sharpie and Amadou Dia.
Danny Cruz knew our cameras would be finding him today because that haircut is fresh and sharp.
Danny Cruz and his Lou City side are going to meet St. Louis 2 in the third round of the U.S. Open Cup. Coached by John Hackworth.
There's that haircut again. That is fresh. A nice fade on the left side. Look at that. If he watches this back, I hope he appreciates it. He'll appreciate it a lot more if his team can come away with the 3 points as well. On the free kick toward the backside of the 6. Loudoun claiming there was a deflection. Nothing called. Goal kick on the way. Back to your point about that Open Cup draw. A lot of love between Danny Cruz and John Hackworth. They talk still regularly. They played in the preseason, and they were excited to see that draw.
Yep.
A lot of respect for each other, and they are looking forward to that clash. The best part about it, it's at Lynn Family Stadium, so Hack gets to go back home.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple draws that people were hoping for, and that was one of them.
Perez. Over for Winder. Just a second player to compete the local path to pro through Louisville's organization behind his brother Elijah. But now commits to foul as Kamari Smith draws the free kick. And Winder is going to go in the book there.
Yeah, you could see he just got a bit too casual there, and it started with that pass from Manny Perez going backwards. And then the pressure right there, that touch just got away from him, and then he had to get into a tackle to save the 2v1 against Kyle Morton.
Those are the things that Danny Cruz said he knows will happen. He is still 16. For as good as he is, and for as good as he's going to be, those things will still happen. He will learn from them.
Kamari Smith, 1 goal this season thus far.
Gadiri on the free kick. Right into the wall. Bowen might have gotten an early start out of that wall, but Goes uncalled.
It did. I was expecting a whistle right after the free kick was taken. I think that's an area that Loudoun United's going to look at moving throughout this match, is taking advantage of set pieces, whether they're corner kicks, whether they're set pieces in those final third areas.
Give away. And give it right back. Bone tried to spring Gonzalez. Once he saw the attack was on, rather Harris, excuse me, up that left side. Three shots in this one for Louisville, 2 on target, 1 hitting the target. Back in the 4th minute from Wilson Harris. No shots yet recorded for the home side, as Loudoun is struggling to get through a back line that has given up just 1 goal this season. Maybe here, in on goal, swept away. That group defending, Manny Perez comes across and helps out. Look for a moment like Samake was in on goal.
And what a terrific challenge there by Manny Perez. Really looks like this back line gets split open. And just that last minute tackle there, saving a chance in on Kyle Morton. See Perez coming across on Samake. And those are just a bit of those casual moments. We saw it with the yellow card given to Winder just a few moments ago, but you hope for Danny Cruz and his side that they clean up some of those details building out of the back and not give up an unnecessary opportunity to get back in this match for Loudoun United.
Winder, a Louisville native, grew up playing locally before he joined his club's academy from its day 1 up through the academy. Signed his pro deal last June, 11 appearances, 6 starts, and has now blossomed into a regular. Has plenty of experienced players to learn from as well. Tosh and Sharpie have taken him under their wings. Good step by Nyman. Expectations high for Ryan Martin this season. Felt that this team is good enough to make the playoffs. They can play with anybody. The players don't fear any opposing team. You know they will have a lot of tough tests along the way, this being one of them. But he feels this team has what it takes to answer those bells throughout the year. Harris called for the foul here on Sargis, who turns him around, and those two exchange some words.
You could see Loudoun United continuing to get frustrated with some of the fouls from Lou City, and some of them really breaking up the rhythm of some of the possession for Loudoun United. But there on that restart, Loudoun United almost gave it right back to Lou City in their build-up in their defensive third.
Bone tried to get it through to Harris, deflects back toward Louisville. Ownby comes through with it. Sloppy at the back from Loudoun. Will Louisville make them pay? Good challenge put in to win it by Jackson Hopkins. He has had a couple of bright moments. The high schooler who will be on his way to UVA in the fall. Heck of a program out there at UVA. Oh, all the way back to the days of Bruce Arena, and ever since then, they've remained a powerhouse. Dancing around the area, Cudi Pietro. Ownby goes down. Gathered by Perez.
And you saw it from Lou City just a few sequences ago where it looked like Loudoun United was on a fast break. They were on a counterattack, and their ability to get numbers behind the ball and really slow down the attack for Loudoun, where they just had to play it backwards and then reset, and then almost having a transition moment for themselves in terms of that, where you earn yourself a set piece there. For Loudoun, you're just gonna have to ask different questions. You're gonna have to find that special moment where you can break down this Lou City side if you wanna find that equalizer.
Celebrating its 75th anniversary, Select is proud to be the official match ball supplier of USL Championship. Choose what you play with at www.selectsportamerica.com. Select, League's choice, player's choice. That Select ball has been swirling every which way in the wind here in Leesburg, Virginia today. Gusting over 20 miles an hour. The feels like temperature is in the upper 40s because of the wind. That's what we come to expect in this region of the country. Very unpredictable weather this time of the year. 2 weeks ago, it snowed on a Monday, and then it was 75 degrees with thunderstorms on a Tuesday. That comes with the territory. And actually, on the Wednesday, they had tornadoes touch down in the area. That is life in Northern Virginia around this time of year. Snow, thunderstorm, tornado, all in a 3-day span in early April. Swung around to Amadou Dia. 28-year-old who has spent plenty of time in this league. Harris crashing in. Kempin misplayed it. Fortunate to have it swept away from behind him. Goes to thank Nicky Downs for the help.
And that's been that quick service, that quick ball in that continues to trouble this back line of Loudoun United as we see the wind taking flag down. I think those bases are wide and heavy enough to hold up, but just shows you how windy it is today.
That one toward Ownby and knocked out for a corner kick. And you wonder how much the wind took that ball that Kempin just misread. Hanging up in the air quite a bit. Just never seemed like he had an accurate read on it.
It does, and it shows teams that they can pick and choose moments where you can just go ahead and test the goalkeeper and test the back line, where you just clip in a ball over the back, and sometimes it turns into a dangerous opportunity like it just did for Wilson Harris.
Amadou Dia from the corner. Made his 100th regular season appearance in USL just a couple of games ago. Most of those came in a very successful tenure in Phoenix, 3 seasons there, 84 appearances. For a player who also has almost 50 appearances in the MLS. Backside of the 6, Gonzalez keeps it alive. Winder nods it forward. Here's Gonzalez, had the assist on the Harris goal. Spins it all the way over like a frisbee to Perez.
And this is clearly going to sound obvious, but for Ryan Martin and his side, if they're unable to find the equalizer here in the first half, they really want to keep this a 1-0 deficit, because I still think there's pockets of space that they can find and expose just with some minor adjustments and really just isolating some of the moments where they play forward, because you've seen a lot of turnovers in the build-up play where they maybe overcomplicate the ball. They're looking to really spring attacks, and so I think if he can get a hold of his team at halftime and just really explain to them where that open space is when they do switch the point, play it through the back, and when they do find Moses Neiman, so you're clearly still in a space with a 1-0 deficit where you could still be incredibly patient against a Lou City side that's only conceded once this season.
Louisville is still not allowed a shot today. And Loudoun so far only 2 touches in the opposing 18-yard box. There's Ryan Morton with the black cap on, smiling on the bench. He always has that book in hand. And whenever he's writing down from the first 40 minutes, some of it positive defensively and in terms of the effort, but not a lot to speak of that's in that notebook positively on offense.
Yeah, and it's been decent from the build-up to the midfield third. It's really just that final third that they're just missing those moments. And we talked about the rotation of players coming in and out of the squad and bringing in different players in different positions.
Bone goes quick, top of the box, floated toward the back post. Harris recycles for Ownby to the corner. Ownby earns another corner out of it.
Again, these are the moments where this Loudoun United team needs to stay and focus on the details, defend this corner, especially with this wind. It's just so unpredictable on where this ball can end up.
A mixed bag from the corner so far for Dia. A couple have been overcooked. This one is perfect, but it's headed away before it gets to that glut of white jerseys. That was dropping right at the top of the 6 at the near post.
Yeah, and if Lou City was able to just even get the slightest of touches on it across the face of goal, it looked like they had a tremendous amount of numbers there to find that final action.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Heading off the center and the drift.
Back for Hayden Sargis. Hayden Sargis in the Sacramento Academy since 2015. Signed his first pro deal with them ahead of 2020. And then comes over to DC United's organization. He was a finalist for Young Player of the Year in 2020. Lost out to the guy he's in charge of marking today in Wilson Harris.
One of my teammates there. One of my teammates in the lake over there.
All the way back for Kyle Morton, who has not had a lot to do in half number 1, and Louisville would like to keep it that way. But here we are again, closing moments of a half. This is where Louisville struggled last year, and this is where they have gotten even stronger this year. In these last few minutes of the half so far, Loudoun has barely sniffed the ball in the attacking half. They made it a point of emphasis in the offseason, and the players have responded to Danny Cruz. No trouble there for Morton. If that's all they have to deal with, they'll take that 10 times out of 10.
And you're absolutely right, because sometimes when you have a team and you're playing an opponent where you feel like you haven't given up that dangerous opportunity or those dangerous link-up play and their inability to connect right now, sometimes here at the end of halves and the beginning of the start of second halves are the most dangerous moments, because you kind of switch off or you shut off for just a minute. And Loudoun United has the dynamic attacking players, whether up top in midfield, the players, the ability to play forward out of the back, that they could really transition quick and counterattack on you.
Give it away to Bone. Here's Harris. Has Gonzalez to his left. Harris takes it himself. The confidence of a striker in form right now. When he had that ball in that space, never really thought he was going to pass it. You've got 4 goals in 6.5 games.
It did, and you saw the numbers that continued to join him. Obviously, Del Piccolo trailing that play, but Brian Ownby joining on that right flank. And as you said, Wilson Harris really in that form where he felt really confident about that left-footed strike right there.
Just 1 minute of time added here at the end of the first half.
1 minute of stoppage time in the first half. 1 minute.
Don't forget, this Louisville team still missing Cam Lancaster. How scary this attack can be when Harris and Lancaster get to play off of each other.
Yeah, imagine that. I'm Cam Lancaster leading the team in goals last season.
Nyman. Pietro almost got it through to Samake. Closing seconds now of the half. Pietro called for the foul.
And I think that's a player right there that Ryan Morton really wants to get more involved in the second half. Is Pietro really hasn't seen the ball in the final third, hasn't really been able to play make, and has really had to fight for second ball opportunities like that, and unfortunately called for the foul there.
Maybe last chance of the half. Ownby. A minute has come and gone. Perez, Ownby, flipped over to Bone. And there's your halftime whistle. 4 minutes in, Wilson Harris put the visitors on top. And after that, not a whole lot of anything. Louisville controlled the tempo of the play. Loudoun didn't register a shot. A strong showing by one of the league's few remaining unbeaten sides.
Yeah, besides that ball in behind for Harris for the chance over the top for Lou City, really the first half has stayed a little bit more quiet for Lou City other than that opening goal within the first 5 minutes. But really controlled the tempo, as you mentioned, really won the ball at midfield, and that counterattack was really dangerous. And then Loudoun United really needs to start finding a rhythm and finding that player in that space they can play into.
It was a terrific start to the season for Loudoun. 2 wins and a draw in their first 3. But then came the step up in competition. They lost to Pittsburgh. Now Louisville has a 1-0 lead on them. Can they get it back on their home turf, or will Louisville remain unbeaten? We're back in a moment for the second half.
This is business. This is business today. Fast, unpredictable, always changing. Shifting trends and technologies are pushing aside old rules. The unexpected is the new normal. At Segra, we'll help you navigate a complex future with state-of-the-art voice, internet, and data protection solutions. We know you have dreams, and we see your potential. Segra, freedom to grow.
I didn't expect to stop my career in the end of the last year. You know, I had something with my ankle. I had a surgery, and the things came like that. You know, I talked with Hernan and Nico first. They wanted me in the staff with the first team, but because of the budget, you know, they had already one few assistant coach with the first team, so they didn't have space for me, and the club wanted to keep me in the organization. So I was like, maybe it's the time to do it, and they offer me this post with London, which is great for me because I'm doing the transition with the connection, with the first team and London, and also the London with the academy, and I'm the right person to do this connection because I was player with the first team, and I also trained the academy when I played soccer. So it's a perfect world for me, and you know, I'm very excited about this year.
Between Loudoun and Louisville, plenty more action to come between these two teams. But let's get to know at least one player on one of these teams a little bit better, as Loudoun today gives us a player spotlight of Joe Rice. He comes over from New England Revolution 2, where he was a standout in USL League One last season. Had an injury in the final game of the year as the team was pushing to make the playoffs. But from there, he went on to be acquired by Loudoun and into the DC United organization. A player with a bright future, hasn't yet cracked the lineup this season, but they know they have a good one if need be on the bench here in Joe Rice. We'll take a look at the upcoming schedules for both of these teams, beginning with the visiting side, Louisville. It's not easy. They got to go out west before coming back to have a U.S. Open Cup in between San Diego and Charleston against a former friend in John Hackworth, now at St. Louis City. So it's a tough upcoming slate for them. And then, oh, by the way, they take on at home the #1 team in the Eastern Conference right now, Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
Yeah, and 4 of these 5 upcoming matches being on the road, and obviously this one at Loudoun. It's going to be interesting for Lou City to see how they navigate this stretch of their schedule, especially for a team that's very ambitious in this Eastern Conference standings.
Danny Cruz will have to juggle some bodies as well. A lot of games in a short span. On the other side for Loudoun, at least they don't have to worry about squeezing in a U.S. Open Cup game in there, not eligible for the tournament as the 2 side of DC United. But they also have a West Coast trip of their own going out to face the Oakland Roots this coming weekend.
And then on top of that, facing a Birmingham Legion, El Paso Locomotive team, and a Hartford Athletic team in 3 consecutive matchups with teams that are on the lower end of the Eastern Conference standings. And then those teams are going to want to make moves going forward into the standings, picking up points. So you're going to be playing 3 teams that are really looking for 3 points, and then a Detroit City FC team that's already proven to be very tough.
There are not very many easy outs on the schedule for any team this year all around USL Championship. So tough sledding ahead. We'll see which of these teams can pick up some more points as this one continues.
I'm on that routine. I'm on that routine.
In the making, a dream start for City. Maxi Rodriguez, what a stop by Steinwasser.
What a debut for the Legion. Marlon! What a goal from Marlon! What a save, Van Ogle.
You see the winter cap still on, coats, gloves, upper 40s and very windy in Leesburg, Virginia. Not quite into spring mode, but Louisville sprung out to a very quick lead in this one, just 4 minutes in. We'll get back to our game in a moment, but first, a look around the league with some news and notes. Open Cup, third round, 19th to the 21st. What other matchup stand out to you beside Louisville against St. Louis?
Inter Miami going to Miami FC.
That's a big one. I also like San Diego going to LA Galaxy, so you get Landon Donovan against a team that literally has a statue of him outside of the stadium. So a lot going on there. Player of the month, you can vote on that through Monday, April 11th. That's tomorrow, so go ahead and get your votes in. And then the USL Championship returns to ESPN this Friday at 7 p.m. on ESPN. Deportes Detroit City against Birmingham Legion. Busy weekend it was in USL Championship. Here are some of the ones that stood out. El Paso Locomotive finally getting back to the winning ways. El Paso 5-0. And then we look at the upcoming schedule as well. Some midweek action Wednesday and a few on Friday this week.
Yeah, and Pittsburgh Riverhounds stay unbeaten on the road. Indy 11 picks up their first win now, playing Atlanta United 2 as well. And then you talk about El Paso getting their first win, on the road as well. But Colorado Springs, there's 4 unbeaten teams in the league thus far. Pittsburgh, Colorado Springs, New Mexico United, and this Lou City side.
And this Lou City side will look to remain unbeaten after the following 45 minutes. Here's a look back again at those scores. 5-0 for El Paso. San Antonio on the road, a big 1-0 win over Orange County. And then Indy 11 getting back to the winning ways as well, a 2-1 win over RGV.
And something not on the scoreboard is the 1-0 win that Miami got at Tampa Bay as well. And that was a big one, goal by De Silva in the second half. And then as we mentioned, that win for Indy 11, 2 second half goals by Stefano Pino helps guide them to their first win of the season. Does that really catapult the rest of their season as well?
It very much could. Mark Lowry is getting that team going in the right direction. We're back in a moment here in Leesburg. Louisville 1, Loudoun 0.
We live in the area where there is a lot of players, a lot of kids who want to play. So we are lucky because we are here in DC. Washington, DC is huge, and all the neighborhood around is a huge, or I will say, bucket where you can find players. Now we still need to work on them and try to improve the talent, And the academy did well since now, I will say, maybe 10 years. We have a lot of good players who sign in Europe, lot of players who sign with the first team. So I think the way we treat the young player is very good. It's very good, yeah. And we try to do our best to be the next step for the academy player. So academy, London, and then the first team. And I think the academy, being in the academy and step with London is already a huge step. So we want to be the middle part of the pathway, I will say.
Ready to begin half number 2. Players out there on the field for both teams. Louisville with the 1-0 lead that they got back in the 4th minute. Let's take a look at how that goal happened. Wilson Harris got it done for his 4th goal in 6.5 matches now since joining Louisville.
And this is where going to be the tricky moments for Loudoun United, is those transition moments where they lose possession at midfield, and then you see that clever ball here played in by Brian Ownby, and it really just opens up this play. Wilson Harris joining that ball played across and just calmly puts it in the back of the net. And what a start for this Lou City side that comes into Loudoun United looking to stay hot with the unbeaten start. And then here in the 15th minute, this is going to be something that Loudoun United, they really did do a better job throughout that first half, was closing down spaces, allowing that shot from outside the 18-yard box and really not backing up into their own 18-yard area.
Here's a look at those stats from that first half, all Louisville.
Yeah, and possession towards Loudoun United, but a lot of that coming through the build-up through the back and possession through the back line. They haven't been able to find that forward ball, that penetrating ball that really opens up an attacking sequence for them.
Looks like we're going to have a change coming for Loudoun. Pietro might need some help in the attack, and he might get it in the form of Tyler Freeman, who steps onto the field now for Hausu Samake. How might that change the shape and the tactics for Loudoun? Samake was listed in there as a center back, one of the 3 in this 3-back set, and you bring on Freeman. Here we go with half number 2. From left to right in the red, Loudoun United, and from right to left in the white, Louisville City. Ownby comes through and forces Kempin to rush it up the field.
You already see that immediate pressure that Louisville City put on Loudoun United early on in the first half to really help create that opening goal. Again, now the introduction of Tyler Freeman.
Michael Gamble coming into the match as well for Loudoun. Camardi Smith has some space. Smith tucks it inside. Freeman waiting for it top of the box. It floats the other way instead. And Gonzalez gets it away. It was Moses Nyman who came off for Mikey Gamble, and those subs are brought to you by Segra.
Loudoun United substitutions at the start of the second half. Leaving the field is number 6, Yasu Samaki. And number 27,
Gonzalez.
Moses Nyman.
Back for Del Piccolo.
Now entering the match.
Still such a steady presence in that midfield, Del Piccolo here for Louisville.
And midfielder number 11, Tyler.
Recently crossed the 200 appearance threshold. Career high 9 goals last year, out of nowhere seemingly. Danny Cruz just credited it to his experience and his IQ of where the ball's going to be. So many of the goals he scored were on a second ball that was loose in the box that he just happened to get to based on his positioning and knowing what was coming next. Here's Green on the left foot. That's the first shot, albeit a weak one. That forces Morton to make a save on the afternoon.
And already you can see that positive intent that Loudoun United has here in the second half, now pressing Lou City themselves.
Pietro slots it through for Freeman. We highlighted him at the top as the man to watch. He scored twice in their last win against New York Red Bulls too. And as a team, they haven't scored since then. 2-0 loss against Pittsburgh and a scoreless draw against Miami. Harris, Bone. Leaves it for Ownby, gets it back at the end line. Bone, back to the penalty mark. Gonzalez, a step too late.
Yeah, it looked like Gonzalez was just lurking there in the backside of the post for Lou City and just beat to the ball there, but really good run, good link-up play to really release Ownby.
Green over the top. Some more direct play now maybe from Loudoun. Amadou Dia flexing his left leg on this left side. The ball's played his way. Let's see how he does with it. Plays it along and gingerly walks over to the sideline. Something to keep an eye on.
Hey, it looked like for a moment that he did want to play it forward, whether it was long or just a stretched pass, 15, 20 yards, and he felt more comfortable going backwards.
Ownby looking for Harris. Gamble. Rudy Pietro slows it down and pulls it back. I feel like Loudoun has already been on the ball more in these first 5 minutes of the second half than they were for any 5-minute period of the first half.
They just didn't value the ball in moments throughout that first half. Really made it difficult for themselves to allow each other to play expansive and really utilize all of the field. So in these moments, they've not turned the ball over and build up.
Ownby able to keep that one in and nod it back to Perez. Gibson, such a positive facilitator in the midfield, always near the top of any team he's on in passing accuracy. And now a free kick on the way for Louisville. Good spot to whip a ball in as Gonzalez goes down.
Again, this is going to be a dangerous opportunity. And for a Loudoun United team that is really, as you mentioned, growing into this match and really picking up a lot of the momentum here in the second half, albeit only 6 minutes in, but you don't want to give up a set piece here where Lou City can regain momentum and really challenge John Kempin in this back line.
Bone stands over it. Bone to the back post. Knotted away before Wilson Harris could do anything with it. Good delivery from Bone.
This is a decent amount of fitness. You wonder if they put the tickets behind dollars. You know what I'm saying? Trying to find that line of like making more people come. To pay off the $50 million stadium.
Kempin off his line to clear. 10-year veteran going back to his time in Sporting Kansas City. A lot of that time in MLS for John Kempin, on loan today from DC United, where he made 10 appearances last year. It doesn't seem like Amadou Dia is long for this one. Louisville getting a change ready. That one chipped in. Everybody looking around for a flag that never came. And Louisville will take it, a 2-0 lead.
And really catching Loudoun United sleeping because they're looking for offsides, but clearly just no pressure on that initial ball played in, and Brian Ownby, just such a well-timed run here, and then gets his head up and sees that John Kempin is well off his line and just clips it over Kempin to put his side up 2-0. And Ownby, who really started the first goal with that ball played in the 4th minute, finds a goal of his own.
Everybody on Loudoun standing around and looking for a flag. Even Ownby's teammates were kind of standing around. Seemed like only he knew what was going on. And he gets a goal that puts Louisville up 2-0 in command of this one. Jean Toche comes in for Amadou Dia. Brought to you by Segra.
And you're absolutely right, because I think all of his Lou City teammates were really counting on him to finish because I think they were waiting to see if there was an offside. You didn't see a lot of players joining the attack. But again, you had that moment where John Kempins just caught off his line. Back line was flat.
Coming out of the match, number 3.
Really good recognition for the ability to play in there as we see Winder down.
Defenseman Sean Tosh.
Ownby gets his second of the season. He does it in brilliant fashion.
And it's just one of those runs and that ball played in that it's just so well timed that it does seem like it's offsides for a moment.
His ball in now to Harris at the doorstep, and it somehow gets all the way through without a touch.
And unfortunately for Ryan Martin, his team had really started to get a good footing into this game, started to create some chances, albeit just the one by Green, but then you concede the second.
Ownby again. To Perez in the box, looking for Bone, cut out. Heavy challenge from behind by Cudi Pietro. And he's gonna pick up a yellow card for this. So 10 minutes into this second half, things have gotten worse for Loudoun. All of a sudden, Louisville in total control. It seemed like Loudoun found the rhythm of the game, controlling the possession first few minutes of the second half. All of a sudden, they're down 2, and Louisville looks like they're threatening for more.
Yeah, and you wondered what the introduction of Tyler Freeman would do for the tactical matchups, and obviously you saw it with Cudi Pietro. He's moved into midfield, but you've seen that comfort between he and Freeman to interchange. One can go high, one can drop low. There, Cudi Pietro going right through the back of Brian Ownby, earning a yellow card there. And obviously you hear the frustration with Ryan Martin and his side.
Bone service, Winder couldn't steer it on frame as he rose up for it. So Brian Ownby last year had career highs in assists and goals. The goals total was only 5. He's already at 2 this season. So he's off to a strong start yet again. And the longer Cam Lancaster is out, and the more attention that gets paid to Wilson Harris with the way he's scoring, figure it'll continue to open things up for Ownby.
Yeah, and Danny Cruz and his coaching staff just have to be so pleased with how everybody's really owning, but not only owning, but impacting their role on the field, whether it's that counterattacking moment that we just saw with the Brian Ownby goal, ball played in behind, or defensively, holding this Loudoun team scoreless thus far.
Cleared back for a strike by Del Piccolo. USL Championship on ESPN moves into April. Detroit City and Birmingham will lock horns on Friday, April the 15th, 7 Eastern on ESPN Deportes. Over the top for Smith. Late whistle back behind the play.
Ref looking to allow advantage until he realized that the play wasn't developing as he thought.
A lot of these guys play for Loudoun.
And that right there has been a bit of the story of
Given away. Hopkins finds a way through, puts it wide. Sorry, that was Freeman who won it.
good press there to really create this opportunity for Tyler Freeman, but the ball in behind prior to this has really been the story of Loudoun in that build-up phase in the attacking third, and the way Lou City has played defensively. Really creative ideas and good ideas on and off the ball for Loudoun, just unable to really execute that final detail, that final pass, that final moment.
Zomana Diarra getting ready to check in for Loudoun, as is Azad Liati. Bone into space for Gonzalez to run onto it. Back for Bone. 1 hour gone, half hour to go here on ESPN Plus. Louisville a 2-0 lead on Loudoun. Maybe it's 3 right here. Ownby skies it.
Oh, what a ball played in here by Lou City and Brian Ownby. Again, really good run. See this ball played in by Wilson Harris. And Brian Ownby just, this finish seemed to be easier than the one that he had to clip over John Kempin. Unfortunately, it looks like he takes a late slip right as he goes to strike it, but looked like he just needed to place it far post.
Diarra in for Rio Hopegund, and Azad Liati in for Jackson Hopkins.
Loudoun United substitutions in the 61st minute. Now exiting the match, number 21.
All subs brought to you by Segra.
And number 42, Jackson Hopkins. Now entering the match, number 12, midfielder Zomana Diarra. And number 18, midfielder Azad
Correction, Rio Hopegund stays in. Sammy Gadiri goes out for Loudoun.
Brought to you by Segra.
Again, really, just as Loudoun United really start to connect and build some momentum, they concede that second goal and really now have played on their heels for the rest of this past 5-10 minutes.
Harris cuts, still with it. Harris didn't quite catch all of it. Every time he touches the ball in and around the box, though, you almost expect him to score.
It's these moments of such creativity. Beats Cudi Pietro. He really just needs to find that final quality on the strike there. Again, just creating chances and being dangerous throughout.
Here's Green. Back for Gamble.
But you just can't get overly frustrated if you're Loudoun United and Ryan Martin's side.
Gonzalez. Now Ownby.
We all know some of the toughest leads in this game are 2-0 leads. Got to find that balance between keeping the foot on the gas and finding that third goal, and then just not getting too casual in any phase of the game. So if Loudoun can really find one of the two sometime before the 80th minute, then you can really give yourself 10 minutes to apply a lot of pressure to Lou City. But with the chances, Brian Ownby, Wilson Harris, Del Piccolo, Corbin Bone, they're really looking for that third.
Yeah.
Harris splits it through for Gonzalez. Good ball. Gonzalez runs onto it, but he commits the foul and might pick up a yellow for that as well. He will.
And shakes his head in looks of disagreement, but clearly trying to go through the back of Jacob Green here. And really good recovery by Green. And Gonzalez knowing that he's not going to be able to play through there, and picks up that yellow card. But really well played ball in behind. Good run, good pace.
Picking up that yellow card, the last bit of action for Jorge Gonzalez. Here comes Ray Serrano. Talked about him earlier in the first half. This year around the league, you were seeing players pop up from Sporting Kansas City, from Tacoma Defiance, no longer in USL Championship. Louisville has dipped into both of those pools, with Serrano coming over from Tacoma. Just 19 years of age, but his 5th year as a professional. Made his debut at 15 years old in USL Championship with Tacoma Defiance.
Louisville City FC substitution in the 67th minute. Now exiting the match, number 9, Jorge Gonzalez. And now entering the field, number 21, forward Ray Serrano.
Again, just so fascinating to see. You talk about Ray Serrano, just to see the development and the avenues these players have to build and grow their professional career. And clearly everybody's route is different. You start in the, whether you start in the academy and your academy product, or you go through the, the college ranks. Just speaks volumes to the growth of the USL Championship.
Diarra commits the foul, but he has been a spark plug on that right side ever since coming in. Leaves Winder writhing on the ground in pain, holding his left knee.
He has it, and that's why for Loudoun, just don't get frustrated. You can find it. You can see he comes in really late there with, I mean, obviously just mistiming it. Winder comes in and gets a touch on the ball, and Diarra is obviously already committed to taking a shot and follows all the way through.
In the 68th minute, Loudoun United's number 12,
clear yellow card there, and then it looked a little closer in real time, and then when you watch the replay, just clearly Winder getting a touch before.
Serrano makes his 5th appearance now for Louisville. Just one start so far, but does have a goal. Last year with Tacoma, was 2nd on the team in minutes played and led the team with 6 assists and 38 chances created. So you start looking at some of the younger players for Louisville and the roles they kind of fill. You've got Ownby as one of the older guys, a creator. You've got Serrano as a young guy who's a creator. You've got Harris as a young guy who's a goal scorer. You've got Lancaster as an older guy who's a goal scorer. You see in the pattern here, that next wave possibly for Louisville as Harris takes this one over the end line for a goal kick.
Yeah, and just really good balance throughout this roster for Danny Cruz and Louisville City, this organization. You talk about Joshua Winder, you talk about Manny Perez. I mean, you hit it spot on. I mean, it just, they really have that next wave of players that really can carry this organization to the levels that they continue to want to be, and really the ambition of this club as well throughout the regular season and the playoffs.
In every Eastern Conference final since they've come into existence, they've put 2 stars above the crest already. And it doesn't look like they are slowing down anytime soon. Morton has to come off his line here to grab it away from Azad Liadi.
And then now you add a goalkeeper like Kyle Morton, and really well read there. Because again, we talked about the wind a bit. Obviously that ball played through on the ground, but still can play some tricks on you with the pace and the movement, especially on this turf. But just that quick, decisive decision-making that you see out of Kyle Morton.
Del Piccolo, now Bone, over to Ownby. Earns a corner kick out of it.
And I clearly don't want to get too far ahead in terms of the scheduling for Lou City, but not only would they really enjoy finding a 3rd goal possibly to really put this game out of reach, but collectively they're really battling for that 5th clean sheet in this regular season. But still plenty of time here for Loudoun.
Good service, Harris. Not so great on the volley. Still finally just came down now. I think he could be forgiven for a miss hit like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Given the goals he's already scored this season.
And I know Danny Cruz has spoken about this team just hasn't executed in the final third yet the way he's envisioned. I'd be interested to hear what his take on this performance is thus far. He's really a good mix of creating really dangerous opportunities within all 3 phases. Corner kick, set pieces, the run of play, counter-attacking moments.
11 shots now for Louisville. Only 2 shots in the game for Loudoun. When the opposing team has as many shots, period, not shots on target, shots, period, as you have goals in the game, you're doing something right at both ends of the field.
Yeah, and we talk about the 4 clean sheets so far this season, and really Kyle Morton finds himself towards the middle, the bottom half of in the league of saves, and that just again shows to your point where it's really a collective defensive decision to get behind the ball to really make it tough for teams to break them down. In this game, no different. And going back to Lou City's schedule after this, they're playing a San Diego Loyal team who's scored 10 goals in the last 3 games.
And you wonder what type of San Diego Loyal team they're going to catch on the weekend. San Diego plays on the road against Oakland Roots on Wednesday. They have Louisville on the Saturday. And then they have on the following Tuesday night, LA Galaxy and Open Cup. So Louisville maybe catches San Diego at the proper time in there as the middle game of that set. You start thinking about, okay, when do you rest guys and which games do you go all out for? That's going to be for Landon Donovan to decide. Do you go all out and try to get those points against a weaker Oakland Roots side, a strong Oakland Roots side, but weaker than Louisville on Wednesday, and then try to make a statement against Galaxy on Tuesday and rest for the Louisville game? Do you go all out for those first two games and then rest against the Galaxy? You don't know what you're going to see if you're Louisville when you face San Diego, and it's a decision they have to make themselves as well. They've got that game on Saturday, then they have St. Louis in the Open Cup.
And just fantastic points, Joe. And, you know, having to navigate, and obviously all of us extremely excited to have the U.S. Open Cup back. It's been so much fun. The first round, the second round, just all the energy, all the excitement that you even thought it was going to be. It's been times 100 in terms of the matchups, the upsets. I mean, it's been incredible. But really, like you said, where some of these midweek matchups, how do I can't imagine how much energy San Diego Loyal is looking towards that LA Galaxy game at LA and that matchup in the US Open Cup, and how do they navigate the roster and who plays, and like you said, who plays what kind of minutes, playing at Oakland. And typically, you know, again, happy that the US Open Cup is back, but typically some of these teams are used to that May start for the US Open Cup. So now with the earlier start, you know, you're really just now kicking off your season. So some of this, the squad rotation that maybe you're typically accustomed to seeing a later start for the US Open Cup, you're possibly not into that rhythm quite yet.
Harris. Wind still whipping here at Segra Field. Liotti dispossessed by Tosh, who's already on a yellow and has to be very careful. Otherwise, it could be a very brief stint for him in this game. Subbed in for Amadou Dia. And has since picked up a yellow and now drawing the ire of the referee once again, Luis Arroyo. That time the yellow card was given to Tyler Gibson for something that was said after the challenge. Free kick curled in, out for a corner kick. Don't miss a minute of the action in 2022, whether your club is on the road or at home. Catch nearly every second of USL Championship action on ESPN+. Sign up today at plus.espn.com. No trouble for Morton. Corner taken right at him. Headed back to Morton. You wonder just how much longer Louisville can keep this up. It's going to break at some point. They're going to have a game where they switch off. They let in 2 or 3, or maybe a couple of games in a row they give up a goal in each game. That's human nature over the course of a long season, but they're showing no signs of that coming anytime soon, at least.
Yeah, especially when you have this collective commitment to defend the way they're defending. Anytime you can get players to buy into that not only the first ball press, but the way you press it and the way you make play predictable, that matters to everybody behind you, and the ability to recognize the role of slowing up a play. We've seen a number of chances here throughout the matchup where Loudoun seems to have a quick break and possibly off to transition in a counterattack, but Lou City's ability to slow it down and get numbers behind the ball again. But you're absolutely right. You just wonder.
Here's that press forcing a turnover. Del Piccolo to Harris. It's left instead for a strike. That's touched around the post. Serrano getting in on the action. Almost made it 3-0. Kempin makes the stop.
And not the kind of turnover that you want for Loudoun United as you're trying to find yourself back in this matchup, and forcing John Kempin into a really strong save to his near post. And Lou City with all sorts of options there after that turnover.
That'll be it for Jacob Green.
Andrew
Husso enters.
In the 80th minute. Now exiting the field, number 3, Jacob Green. And now entering the match, number 19.
Owen sets up the corner.
Landry Husso. All substitutions are brought to you by Segra.
Done a good job defending corners today, Loudoun. Also hasn't been the easiest day to take corners, to be fair, with the wind. They have defended them well. 10 to go at Segra Field. Thanks for joining us this Sunday afternoon with Eric Dobransky. I'm Joe Malfa. Loudoun opened the season unbeaten in 3 matches, did not give up a goal in those 3 matches, but they're closing in on maybe a second consecutive 2-0 defeat. Harris curling it wide of everything. But to be fair to Loudoun, back-to-back games against the number 1 and number 2 teams in the Eastern Conference in the Pittsburgh Riverhounds and Lou City. So a massive step up in competition. Louisville not far off from remaining among the league's unbeaten. 4 teams left with that honor.
And if this result holds, you just start to wonder how Loudoun United responds on the road to Oakland Roots, a team that's currently 0-3-2 at the bottom of the West. And that's got to be a game that they've got to try to find a rhythm in, because then you host a Birmingham Legion team that is clearly not where they want to be in the Eastern Conference, sitting at 13th out of 14. Not the start that we would typically expect. And then obviously Birmingham Legion with the massive signing of Juan Aguadelo. Played around 60 minutes in their US Open Cup second round matchup with Southern State's SC Stars.
And beware that Oakland game, as far as just looking at the record, if you're Loudoun. That's an Oakland team that lost its first game against RGV with about half a roster due to some injuries and some COVID issues. After that, entertaining 1-goal losses, 2-1 on the road to Memphis and 3-2 at home to Monterey Bay. But you could tell they were going in the right direction. Those 2 draws, back-to-back games against New Mexico United at the top of the Western Conference and Tampa Bay Rowdies at the top of the Eastern Conference mix every year. So 2 very strong results for Oakland against good competition. And because they don't have a win yet, you know they are chomping at the bit to get one. Just saw that from El Paso last night, a team that has lost 4 in league play and their Open Cup game. They just wanted to get that taste out of their mouths, and Monterey Bay, the poor souls on the other side who had to deal with that 5-0 defeat.
Yeah, some of the teams that we're familiar with to see at the top of both the West and the East having a bit of slow starts this season. So teams that you're going to want to keep watching out for.
Some changes on the way for Louisville as they look to wrap this one up. Enoch Mushagalusa comes in for Brian Ownby, and Niall McCabe will enter for Corbin Bone. What a day it was for Ownby. Had the goal, had the hockey assist on the first goal, and what a pass it was on that first goal.
Louisville City FC
It was, and throughout this match, Brian Ownby has shown why he was going into this game second in the East with 10 chances created. He was dangerous throughout the game, obviously finding a goal of his own with that direct ball over the top that just caught all of Loudoun United, and goalkeeper John Kempen off his line was able to be clever with the finish, just clipping it right over the top. Really solid performance. And same with Corbin Bone. Really the ability to control the tempo of the match, stop a lot of the attacking moments and sequences for Loudoun before they even really got started.
Here's Freeman with Liati in front, but look at all the white jerseys in the picture. There's 3 red jerseys, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 white jerseys back behind the ball.
Yep, and you see Niall McCabe being one of the first to slow that play down, and that's been the story of the matchup.
Here's Freeman. Again, look at this, no numbers for Loudoun. You're down 2 goals with a few minutes to go. You figure you've got to commit some more numbers forward. They have 4v8 disadvantages right now in the attacking third. Here's Mushagalusa.
And there's going to be a lot that Ryan Morton and his coaching staff are going to want to go back and look at from this matchup, just to your point of really the inability to get numbers joined in the attack. Even in that result, that 2-0 loss to Pittsburgh Riverhounds at Pittsburgh, they really did create a number of chances early and often in that matchup in that first half. A couple big saves by Pittsburgh. And then 2 Dane Kelly goals late in the matchup in the 64th and the 72nd. It's just a little bit of a different story here in this match with Lou City.
Mushagalusa commits the foul as he tries to turn the corner. There's a few minutes to go to make this one official. Louisville well on the way to a 4th victory in 6 matches. And it could be a 5th clean sheet out of 6 for this side. They've only given up still 1 goal on the season, and that's in all competitions. They pitched a shutout in their Open Cup match as well.
And that has to be one of the most impressive aspects of this start for Lou City, is not only to be unbeaten, but the way they've done it. And you go back to that matchup with Birmingham Legion, that 0-0 draw and the 2 saves that Kyle Morton had to make later on in the match, playing a player down with the first half red card of Napo Matsoso.
Tell you what, if it continues at this pace, Kyle Morton might be one of the easiest decisions to win goalkeeper of the year in the league. He's been a finalist twice in 2019 and 2020. They didn't get over the hump in either of those years. This clean sheet record keeps up. It's not going to be much of a discussion getting into the territory already early on this year of what it was like for Evan Loro and Tampa Bay Rowdies last year, where you were almost surprised to see any team score against them. Mushagalusa squeaks through. Second time, though, that he has committed a foul like that as he tried to get by Diarra. Kyle Morton entered this season with 47 appearances in USL Championship. That in his time with Rochester Rhinos, a couple of years in Pittsburgh, one in St. Louis, and a brief cameo last year on loan to Memphis where he played 5 games. 47 appearances, 20 of those were clean sheets. He's about to make it 53 total appearances and 25 clean sheets, and a goals against average that began the year at 0.96 is going to just continue to plummet below 0.9. And if that's all he has to deal with, it's going to be a really easy go of it with each passing game.
And that today it has, and you really can't think of a moment. All I can recall is the shot by Jacob Green earlier on in this half that was really the only thing on frame that asked anything of Kyle Morton, but it was really a routine save at that.
Elsewhere right now in USL Championship, Birmingham and Hartford Athletic tied 1-1 as they draw near halftime. That match also being broadcast on Sirius XM FC. Can't watch the match? Turn on Sirius XM FC 157, North America's only 24/7 source for engaging soccer talk, including USL All Access Tuesday nights at 7 Eastern, plus hear live matches from the USL, MLS, English Premier League, and more, all on Sirius XM FC 157 and the Sirius XM app. Again, you can catch Birmingham and Hartford there, or here on ESPN Plus once this game wraps up. 3 minutes, the time added. Free kick on the way for Loudoun. See if they can pull one back at least. Del Piccolo coaching to the final moment, telling Serrano to use his head there. That's the leadership on the field for Louisville. All those guys, the Ownbys, the McCabe's, the Del Piccolos, the Tosches of the world, all like coaches on the field for Danny Cruz. They want perfection till that final whistle is blown. And it hasn't blown yet. So they will be at 100 until the very last drop of this game, wanting to preserve that clean sheet yet again. Flag goes up. That ball curled out and then in. Pardon me, an offside call from the assistant referee. That's one area where Danny Cruz has been very proud of this team, with the way they have been able to just transition from one year into the next without missing a beat. Some of the guys they brought in, Serrano, Mushagalusa, Harris, they all came from organizations that won a handful of games the last couple of years. Culturally, different expectations from those organizations to Louisville, where they expect to win every single game. And it's all those leaders, like you saw there a moment ago with Del Piccolo, mad until the final drop of this game. That has allowed all these new faces to very quickly adapt to the culture and the expectations here at Louisville. And Danny Cruz has entrusted that to his leaders on the field, where it makes his life easy. He just has to sit back and worry about the tactics. Everything else comes from the leaders on the team.
Well, and you talk about missing a player like Cam Lancaster as well. Doing it all without a player like that. And then obviously it's tremendous to see Niall McCabe came in later in the match, in their previous match in the US Open Cup, but then substituted on in this matchup as well. And another one of those players that just provides so many of those leadership qualities that you just spoke about, and really that ability to communicate what's expected of players that come into this organization.
Maybe one final attack for Louisville if they want to turn this into 3. And there's the final whistle on a windy day here in Leesburg, Virginia. Louisville remains unbeaten, and Loudoun tastes defeat for the second match in a row, both by 2-0 score lines. Your final score brought to you by Segra. Harris got things going in the 4th minute. Ownby added a second for the club in the 53rd. And this team is showing no signs of slowing down. Watch out to the rest of the Eastern Conference.
And really a complete professional and well-managed performance by Danny Cruz and his Louisville City side. Defensively, really frustrating this younger Loudoun United team. But then attacking-wise, really creating a number of dangerous opportunities and converting on one in each half. First by Wilson Harris, and then Brian Ownby finding a goal of his own with a ball over the top. Chipping goalkeeper John Kempen.
John Kempen had to make a couple of big stops in this game to keep it where it was at 2-0. And let's take a look at the Segra save of the match. It came here on this chance by Serrano.
Yeah, and John Kempen having to make a really tough save to his near post, and really tough in regards to that it was within the build-up play of Loudoun United, and a chance that a turnover there in the build-up, and then having to make an unexpected save for John Kempen.
Louisville continues its dominance so far in the early stages of the season. A 4th win in 6 matches. For the 5th time, it's a clean sheet, and they now sit back atop the Eastern Conference standings. We wrap this one up in just a few moments here from Loudoun. All smiles from Wilson Harris, and why would it be anything else? You've got 4 goals in 7 matches for your new club after a down year by your standards as the 2020 USL Championship Young Player of the Year. He's back on track, and this Louisville team is showing no signs of slowing down. Another victory here today. Let's take a look back at the highlights.
And Wilson Harris, his 2nd game-winning goal for this Lou City side in 1 week. This ball played in by Brian Ownby. The ability to make it a 2v2 really quickly, and the composure of Wilson Harris there in that moment, being able to play it past the 2 Loudoun United defenders. And this was a really early start, and then the minute 15, another opportunity for Louisville City. Just Loudoun kind of backing up into their own 18-yard box, really giving too much space there to Gonzalez. And then that was a little bit from the first half in terms of the pressure that Lou City was able to put on Loudoun United. But then here in the second half, this direct ball, the timing of the run and the ball were just so perfect that it caught Loudoun United so flat. And then goalkeeper John Kempen off his line, and then Brian Ownby, the ability to clip it over the top. And then a turnover in the build-up here for Loudoun United, forcing John Kempen into a near-post save, almost making it 3-0. But just an overall complete performance by Lou City on the road to a team at Loudoun United that has a really good start coming into this match, 2-1-1, now falling to 2-2-1. But now Lou City finds themselves at 4-0-2, continues to stay amongst the unbeaten.
Here are the basic stats that you get a look at. Here's a couple of advanced stats. Loudoun had an expected goals total of .09 in this game. Louisville just dominant defensively. Loudoun had just 9 touches in the opposing 18-yard box.
Incredible, and this goes down as the 5th clean sheet for Lou City in this regular season, 6th overall.
They are on a tear right now. That'll do it for us from Leesburg, Virginia, where Loudoun falls for a second game in a row by a 2-0 scoreline against top competition in the Eastern Conference. For my broadcast partner, Eric Dobransky, and the crew that makes this all possible, I'm Joe Malva saying good evening from Segra Field. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, folks. Louisville 2, Loudoun nothing.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.